we believe in the comeback. That, don't judge somebody just because they're down and out. If you're going to be an operator, you should work on your business, not
Yes.
in your business. Optimism and this sort of can-do attitude is a strategy. It's a professional strategy.
All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Success in South Florida podcast. I'm your host, Adam Rossen. In today's special episode, we have Ben Brafman. So excited to have you here, Ben.
Thank you.
You and I haven't met until today, but I've known you. I've known your company. You guys have done so much for us. We've worked together. So I'm not big on me reading off the official bio. I like to just kind of get right in and just tell us kind of who you are, what you do, so we can just hear it directly from you.
So appreciate it, and appreciate you bringing me here as a guest, Ben Brafman, and I'm currently the Chief Clinical Officer and co-founder of the Sylvia Brafman Mental Health Center. I've been in the field of behavioral health for over 25 years, probably closer to 30, but certainly over 25 years, and I've spent my whole career in behavioral health, and so I've worked in every nook and cranny that behavioral health has. I started off as a behavioral health tech, which was known as a nurse aide back in the day. We're talking about the early 90s. And I worked my way up. I worked in psychiatric hospitals and nonprofit and for-profit, and I got a dual master's degree at Barry University, which obviously was very helpful. Became a licensed counselor, but frankly, always had an entrepreneurial spirit. Always wanted to do more than just the counseling piece, and so after several years of being in the field, I opened up my own treatment center, Destination Hope, in 2000 and technically 2006, but we opened our doors in 2007, and I started it off as a all male facility, 12 beds. That's it. Completely unheard of back in 07. In fact, I was laughed at by some of my marketing friends who said, you're giving up, half your, really 75% of your marketing. The women are going to go somewhere else, and then not everybody's going to send you. Man, as soon as I heard that from like 2 or 3 people, I knew I was onto something.
Okay.
And gender specific treatment that's where the good stuff happens. Men with the men and women with the women. And so over 15 years, I built up, it was a men's program, then it was a women's program. Then I did age specific, which was a new concept as well. You had the young knuckleheads, 18 to 25, right, and then you had some of the older crowd as well.
And they have different issues, different problems, different concerns, maybe different treatments that need to be done.
Absolutely. And then I I started the first non-Medicare mental health program, which was the Sylvia Brafman program back in 2012. And so I had this entire campus, if you will, but I broke it up into several different fiefdoms, if you
okay,
you could go with that. And so while it was huge, at one point it was 175 beds. It didn't feel that way. And then I added a residential component and a detox component. So I had the full continuum of care. Fast forward to 2018, 2019, I was really burnt out. I was really having thoughts of not doing this anymore, not really sure what I wanted to do, and began the process of selling my company. COVID hit, which made things much more difficult in every single aspect.
Right.
But eventually, I did sell Destination Hope in January of 2021, And I'll tell you that the last day I was there, I drove off the parking lot, and it was the first time in my entire career that I didn't know what I was going to do the next
So
day.
no plans at all. Nothing.
No, I had some vague ideas.
Mhm.
I was thinking about being a consultant for mental health because now mental health was all the rage.
Whereas when you
Um,
started, it was more. Well, it was more substance
it was
abuse.
definitely substance abuse more than mental health.
Right.
And so yeah, I had sort of vague ideas, but it was actually a very freeing feeling, like to have like this clean slate in what I was going to
And just
do.
kind of maybe, did you feel like I can wake up tomorrow at any time, no care in the world, no to-do list, and
Yeah.
sometimes that's a little liberating,
It
right?
is liberating. Unfortunately, I'm not that way. I'm a type A
Mm-hmm.
personality, maybe for a day,
Right.
and then
Yes.
I'm gonna be climbing the walls.
And so like that's me on like vacation. I'll have 2 3 days of, oh, this is great, and then I get antsy and I'm like, okay, what do I got to do? Where are we going? Where are we moving? What are we doing? And so right, it's funny because you're exactly like me, where you
yeah,
can embrace that for a tiny little bit and then
yeah,
go, oh, I'm bored. What am
yeah.
I gonna do?
And so I took a deep dive into how I felt about things and what I can do, and I I decided to consult with people around the country that were adding a mental health component to their substance abuse program, whatever level of care it was. And I kind of liked it, but I didn't love the traveling, and it was a lot. It was a lot. I was going to up and down the Northeast. I was going out west to Indiana, Illinois, Texas, and so it was getting old really quick.
Okay.
And then I decided that my love is in treatment, and I love what I do. And my favorite part is seeing somebody come in completely broken, and then 30, 60, 90 days later or whatever, the family and the patient is better and they're healthier. And that feeling has never gone away. And so what I decided to do is that I had the luxury of being able to say, you know what, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it the right way. I never had a partner. I rejected partnership. I just wanted to do it alone. You and I were talking earlier, and part of the reason I didn't want to have a partner is the reputation in South Florida.
Right.
And I know most, if not all, the characters. So it's very difficult
And many
you
of
know,
them are still in prison.
yeah, many of them are still in prison.
Right.
They're washed out attorneys. I mean,
Right.
there's all kinds of things. So, so I connected with Jamie Blaustein, who he wouldn't mind me saying this. He was a former patient of mine, and I knew his family really well, and I knew that he was doing really well on Wall Street, and he had no treatment experience, no professional experience, and I reached out to him. He was in Miami at the time, and he and I met. And I'm telling him everything about the treatment industry. He's listening. He's curious, and he says, "So you want me to be your CFO?" And I said, "No, I want you to run it." I go, "You're 20 years younger than me, and I don't want to do that anymore. I don't ever want to think about payroll tax anymore.
Right.
I don't ever want to think about some of the bills that you have to pay. Just the whole aspect of that, I was completely burned out." And so we forged a partnership and we opened up the Sylvia Brafman Mental Health Center. And we really haven't looked back. And now, 4 or 5 years later, we have a residential program in Georgia, Cummings, Georgia.
Okay.
So we're expanding and we're doing some really good work. Um, you know, my sort of philosophy has been pretty simplistic, but it's really worked, and that is the following: is that I learned early on that mental health, substance abuse, whatever you want to call it, the most effective thing is to treat it like a small town or a village. And what I mean by that is I grew up in a small town, Monticello, New York,
Okay.
and you know everybody. you go see the doctor, the same doctor for 20 years, and you go see the teachers are there, for forever. And you get the one, the car dealership, and you got the certain restaurants, and you just
Right.
know the characters, and there's always characters. So,
Oh yes.
and
Oh
so, and so
yes.
my philosophy was, let me take that concept and create a treatment program that's like a small town, like a village. And then we have all kinds. We've got people that are really good with the drug addicts and the alcoholics, and we've got ones that are really good with schizophrenics, and one that's really good with personality disorders. And then you need a good finance team, and you need a good marketing team, and
Right.
and all of that. So you put that all together, and they all have one cause, and the rest is history, so to speak, and it just works.
Nice. Nice. So let me bring it back a little bit. So, you know, almost 20 years ago, you started Destination Hope, and you said when people kind of were laughing and criticizing,
Yeah,
you knew, hey, this is even giving me more validation.
yeah.
Where did you learn to think like that? Was it just a gut feeling, or were there other previous like work experiences or life experiences where it really kind of had that entrepreneurial and like a little bit of the tell me I can't do it, go right ahead because now I'm going to really do it,
Yeah, I
kind of
mean,
thing?
that's it's part of my mentality. I have always been that way. Um, I have an underdog mentality that, if you think about it and you strategize and you plan enough, you can do anything that you want. Just a small example is when I was younger and playing football with my friends. When you're picking teams, and I took the worst players
Like, let's
on
go.
purpose, and I was like, we're going to beat them,
Mhm.
and we did, and it's just that type of thinking, that I've always had. To me, optimism and this sort of can-do attitude is a strategy. It's a professional strategy that not a lot of people recognize. And I'm also a culture guy, which means that I want to build on the culture of the people that are there, and that bring them in and make it a cohesive group.
Right. And so when you talk about culture, culture is so important. It's something that I've learned a ton about. We run the firm on EOS, Business Entrepreneurial System, and we've learned a lot about making our core values and what is the Rossen Law Firm culture. And right, and a lot of friends running EOS, and all of our cultures can be similar but also different and very nuanced. So what is the culture of, well, was there a difference between the culture you built at Destination Hope versus the culture you're building now at the Sylvia Brafman Center, and how much of that is more of like reflected of you and your personal culture?
So it is different. At Destination Hope, it was personality based. It was all on me, and it was exhausting. In the beginning, I was everything that I needed to be, for the success of the program.
Right.
And so I knew that one of the things that I had to shift is that thinking of, it can't be based on my personality. It's not sustainable. We need to shift it into a management type of service, where everybody has their role and they stay disciplined. And so I had the foundation already before we opened up the Sylvia Brafman Mental Health Center, but our values are simplistic in nature, but they're really important core values that people take for granted. So, for example, I mentioned the underdog
Right.
concept. That is a value of mine. I We believe in everyone can flourish. We believe in the comeback. That don't judge somebody just because they're down and out.
Right. I like
They can
that.
come back. Um, we believe in discipline. That if you're going to do something, do it with intention. We believe in empathy and compassion. That regardless of the person's circumstances, or how terrible of a patient they may be, give them a shot.
Right.
So those are the kinds of things that I've had those for 15, 20 years and just built on it. My role at Sylvia Brafman is different than my role with Destination Hope. First off, I'm much more involved with the clinical program in all of it. But more
And
importantly,
is that by intention?
yes,
Okay.
yes, that's by intention. But more importantly, I'm the elder statesman now,
Right.
which is a weird kind of position for me to be in. I was very much of a loner, um, do it myself, sort of rogue character in behavioral health. I do have some comments about that. But I'm a role model now, and I have wisdom now, and it's my job to protect the staff from themselves sometimes. And so I fit very naturally into that role.
That's great. It's funny. I always say, I'm like, when did I wake up and now become the old guy in the law firm, like the old, not cool guy? I'm like, I still feel like I'm 20. I
Yeah.
think I'm 20. Like,
I mean, I used
it's
to
like,
get in trouble. I was getting fired almost every day for things that I thought were normal things to do with patients, but administration thought it was nonsense. So I used to take the patients on field trips. I used to, you know, you sit you sit out in the field with the patients and do group with them. I used to do a lot of family therapy. I used to go visit halfway houses on my own. And every single time I did those kinds of things, I got called up to the, you know,
principal's
to the
office.
principal's office, and and they were like, why'd you do this? Why'd you do that? And it was interesting because the director of admissions at that time was a very good friend of mine, but he said, but his caseload is 3 times everybody else's because no one wants to leave.
Right.
So I just walked back out and did my
Right.
thing. And
And it's effective.
I've always thought differently.
Mhm.
I've always felt like the treatment industry misses the mark. I always felt like it's too salesy. It's too
Right.
gimmicky. I don't believe, I don't believe in truffles, where you're giving people, ice cream sundaes as rewards. You have maids that are, that are coming and making beds. And then recently, over the last five years or so, it's insane. You have treatment centers that are giving patients drugs and paying them to write Google reviews, and
Yeah. Yeah.
and then you get families involved in stealing patients. I mean, it's a dirty business, um, in certain ways, but it's a fantastic business in other ways.
The Success in South Florida podcast is brought to you by the team at Rossen Law Firm. If you need DUI or criminal defense representation, call the Rossen Law Firm at 754-206-6200 or check the description of today's episode for more contact information. The Rossen Law Firm, helping good people when bad things happen so they can achieve their best futures.
Well, and that's the thing. It's similar to criminal defense in a way, because there's just a cesspool out there, and if 80 to 90% of them are doing it wrong, or not with intention, or not with good intentions, then it makes it fairly easy to stand out from the rest. But it can be frustrating because when you see these unscrupulous people get, criminal defense clients, or when you see these treatment centers and, and they're doing what they do, you're like, they're not helping, they're hurting. And you want to scream out and shake somebody and say,
Yeah.
this is going to be terrible for you. Because right, when you're the best of the best and you do it because you really love people and love our community and want to help, it's passion. And it can be very frustrating to see other people making those mistakes.
Oh, it's very frustrating, and it gives the behavioral health industry a
Yep.
black eye. And I kind of look at it, the Sylvia Brafman program, as the treatment center.
Right.
That by doing what comes natural to us as a team, we're doing good work. We don't. It's not something that we have to go out of our way to do.
Right. But that's very intentional with your culture, and it all fits in. I mean, look, I was a sports guy. I was a high school basketball coach for a long time. I had the firm, but I really started focusing on culture and core values when we started EOS. And those it really helped us just be intentional to put them into words, put our feelings and just our normal like business activities of the way we provided our services into intentional words, phrases, and say these are the core values. And then as we've been growing, I mean, it's easy when there's one lawyer and two staff, but as we've
Right.
grown, as we've grown to a team of 20, a little over 26 lawyers, we hire based on them. We fire based on them. Our core values are real things. We give shout outs. Everybody knows them. And it also helps with the buy-in. It helps with the passion. It helps people kind of, in some ways, understand, when you combine with the mission, to go, well, why am I working so hard on a Friday, right? Why am I, waking up early on Monday and excited to go in versus dreading to just go in and looking at the clock all day? Well, it's based on our core values. It's based on our mission. And it starts for us with our hiring, even before, like just our job ads and the way we hire, because we want to attract and repel. So now we have these anchor points to say, look, love us or hate us, this is us. This is our crazy family, right? And if you love us, come on in and you're going to love us. And I always tell people now, I'm like, if it's not 100, it's a 0. I don't want 70s. I don't want 80s. I want 100 or, and that's it. Right. And if it's a 0, it's, hey, we might hang out or be friends in the multiverse somewhere, but just not right here. Not here, not now. It's just not going to work. And I've learned over the years, that's okay. Perfectly okay to say that and to feel that, because when you are trying to build something that has a mission behind it and passion behind it, you need people that are willing and not willing, but want to be there with you and row real hard.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's no wonder to me that you guys have had massive success, because you've put the feelings and the behaviors into words and into phrases as far as your culture. So it's amazing. And I'm sure most of your competitors, they don't have that. It's just, yeah, we'll treat you, we'll get you better.
Yeah. Well, a lot of them are glorified substance abuse treatment centers, and they claim that they can treat mental health as well. They're dual diagnosis, and they come to find out, the patients and the families come to find out very quickly that they don't know what they're doing. And we get those patients. We get the patient because they're
either the second go around.
Yeah, there's a line in the sand where even the treatment centers that are only focused on substance abuse or tapping people's insurance, they're like, oh, we this is too much liability. We can't do this. Right. Like this got real.
They're scared of mental health, or they want to stay away from it, and also the insurance policies
are
a lot better
a lot of them don't understand it. Right. So you fear what you don't understand. So they they don't care. They don't have the structure, the infrastructure set up, and so they lose these patients.
Right. No, you're absolutely right. And now you're talking about, you're at Destination Hope for a long time, and you're saying I got to have my hands in everything. I got to do everything, and it led to massive burnout.
Yeah.
How did you make that mental shift? Well, first of all, why could you not let go of the vine and maybe build that team around you to take on the load? And how did that change? Was it a book you read? Was it a mentor you had? Was it just one day you're like, wow, I've been doing it wrong for so long and I'm going to change it cold turkey?
So all of those things influenced me. The biggest thing that influenced me was the death of my mother.
Okay.
She died of cancer in 2009. So I was about 2 years into it. And I knew then that something needed to change. And that was, it was a devastating loss, for me personally, but also for my family. I eventually named a treatment center after her, so it did that. But it was too much for me. I was in the hospital room with her for months as she was dying while I'm running this treatment center. And it didn't jive, because I needed people to step up and do the things that I was doing and so I didn't have the right people around me. So eventually, just ran out of gas.
Right.
So
So
that was a tough one.
it was built and maintained probably on just your sheer will and determination. And
Pretty
that
much.
you can get pretty successful at that, but it can't be sustainable, and
Yeah.
it can't hit next levels of success.
No, and I just, there's certain things I just can't stand. That now I'm smarter now. I'm smarter because of some of my failures. I'm smarter because of the things that were happening that I don't want to happen again. One of the just to talk about one of the failures for me is I opened up the men's program. It was a massive success. We opened up June 18th of 2007, and we were full July 1st.
Wow.
Same year.
Wow.
It was crazy.
Amazing.
I didn't even know what to do.
Right.
It was crazy. So, of course, you do it for a year, and you're like, oh, this is easy. Let's open up a women's program. Same thing, same concept. All I got to do is I got the blueprint. Here you go. So what I realized very quickly is that men and women are much different, and it really took a toll. It took 6 to 8, maybe 9 months to get the women's program up and running. It was terrible. It was disorganized. I didn't have the right staff. The patients weren't happy. The families weren't happy. It was just really, really awful. And here I am going, wait, I had the blueprint. It's not working. So I had to take a deep dive into why it's not working. And so that was a failure on my part that I learned a lot. The other thing that I feel like I failed was the the financial side of it. I had a person in there that I thought would be perfect, and they weren't, and that piece of it, I needed to have a better team in place, and I learned a lot.
Right.
I mean, it was like a deep dive. I mean, I learned a heck of a lot about the finances and budgeting and
Probably
and
got
all of
5
that.
MBAs with all the money wasted or lost.
Yeah, no, I
or
mean it's
mistakes made,
completely
right?
insane. It was
Yeah.
completely insane, and that's why all of that stuff led me to where I am now, where I love what I do. I think I have more energy now and more of a commitment now than I've ever had in my career. I literally I love what I do. I love working with the patients and the families, but almost more importantly is the team that we've put together. I show up there every day for them. Like I want to serve the staff at Sylvia Brafman so they get it. So I can utilize my my wisdom and my experience with them.
That's great. So, and you basically realized, look, I need to let go of the ops of most of the business and the engine and maybe even the management, and do what you love, which is the treatment and being just the maybe the wise Yoda of the
Right.
team, right? And be the good guy, because
Right.
sometimes the managers and the people in charge are the bad guys, because you
Right.
have to be for consistency, reliability, and just management.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. And so the person that you brought on, what was his name again?
Jamie Blaustein.
Jamie.
Yeah.
So and how is he done? How are the two of you? Do you guys have a good synergy with him running things?
Definitely.
And,
We have, we do. We stay in our lanes and we're very intentional about it. He's very pro clinical and I'm very pro business. So when we do cross, we're pretty much aligned, and so it runs very well. And one of the things that I did with Jamie is that I said to him, you have a strength that a lot of people in behavioral health don't have. And that strength is you don't know what you don't know. And so it would be fantastic. We would be sitting in meetings and he would start grilling people and they would get uncomfortable because I told him that all you have to do is poke a little bit at these people. They're not professionals. They don't know what they're doing. They're talking about margins of, 20, 30, 40%. You don't have that kind of margin. sorry. And so he learned a lot by doing that, and I put him in front of people that I trusted so he could learn even more. And now we're 5 years later, and we've expanded into Georgia. We're going to expand more, and it's really a labor of love.
Right.
Yeah.
How do you make decisions in the business when sometimes maybe you have to balance the business decision, the financials, versus the more of the mission, whether it's treatment focused,
Sure.
mission focused, community focused, right? Because I mean that's something in your industry and ours, because we're like, for example, I'll tell you, my lawyers, we have a rule where everybody can have at least one. I usually like to say low bono case, because the public defender's office is pro bono, and I do like our clients to have just some tiny little skin in the game. And so all of our lawyers know you don't need to come to me as long as we can have one, or if you're meeting with a client and you go, wow, the police were wrong. They messed with somebody because of X, Y, and Z, and it's not right. And you believe that we are the best ones equipped to help this client, then screw the money, screw the metrics, just let's do it. Let's help.
Yeah.
Right. So we have some of those things built in. So how do you guys handle that?
So the way we handle it is, you get what you pay for. We're not going to apologize for being professional and licensed and certified and doing all the right things. So on one hand, we have this excellent staff,
Right.
and you have to pay for it.
Yeah.
And the money is spent in clinical and medical and psychiatric care. That's where the brunt of the money is spent. Why? Because we're aligned to treat the patient. At the end of the day, it's all about collaboration and getting together and consulting with the different people and all of that. So it's a balancing act, and we explain to the families, like Jamie and I will hop on a Zoom with the majority of the families, which is unheard of, the owners to do
Right,
that.
yeah.
And we'll spend an hour with them, talking to them and getting into the weeds about why we spend the money that we spend. I would love everybody to come to treatment.
Right.
That's just not the case. We do work with people. We do. We're not a treatment factory, and so we do work with people, and we do try to help out where we can. But at the same time, if you want quality program, you have to pay for the extras a little bit.
Right. So I guess it's about explaining the value and why you're different, some of those differentiating factors where, it's one thing I always say. So for us, I've been very fortunate. I've been on the board of directors for a local charity called In Jacob's Shoes for maybe the last 4 or 5 years. And we've been involved with In Jacob's Shoes for a very long time. And let's see, in 2017, as we were starting to grow, I said, I'm like, well, what else can we start doing to serve the community? Now, we're growing a little bit. I'm not a pure solo. We have at least a little bit of staff. I want to add on some features or things that we can do to help. So we decided for every referral that we get, we're going to donate a pair of shoes to children in need through In Jacob's Shoes. And this year we surpassed 1,000 pairs of shoes that we've donated since 2017. So we're very proud of that. And one of the reasons I chose In Jacob's Shoes is because it's local and we can see and feel the impact. And there is not a big budget. There is not a marketing budget. And look, American Red Cross is a great, organization. All these big national organizations, when there's a disaster, you can text a code during the football game and then you donate $10. But most of those $6, $7, $8 out of every 10 goes to pay for marketing and the administrative staff. And it's because it's so big, you don't see the impact. Whereas the small local charity, like In Jacob's Shoes, I think 9 out of every $10 goes to the kids, goes to shoes for the kids. It's incredible the amount that goes. And when you can see that and understand, like, there's an impact. So for you guys to really put that emphasis on, no, we're going to spend our budget on our clinical team, as opposed to, I'm sure you have a marketing budget and you have a marketing
Sure.
team. You got to.
Sure.
You have administrators. You have those layers because you're running a business. But to really focus on the factory is so important, because a lot of companies, as they grow and scale, they will cheap out on the factory, on the services,
Yeah.
or try to figure out ways to cut them for more profit, or reinvest in marketing. And so that commitment to quality is so important. And I feel we have the same here at our
Critical.
firm, with our lawyers and our team. We're so focused on that. In some ways, I've deliberately held back some of our growth because our production team, our legal team, wasn't ready for a major big marketing push and different things, because we don't want to be one of those mills where just
Right.
people kind of come in and come out. Yeah. So I completely understand. And I think that's the right way to do it when you're talking about long-term sustained success and having an impact in the community. And that's what I think it's all about, and also what I've learned, like breeds like, when I'm able to talk to lots of different people, and with us, we're in the position to refer our clients to different facilities and places, and we really want to know where our clients are going, number one, because we actually care. Most people in my industry are just like, whatever, doesn't matter. And they don't take the time to vet them. And we do.
Right.
It's so important.
Got to do that.
Yeah, it's so important to me that we do, because what if we send one of our clients to a place that's going to be worse for them?
You might.
I know. Right. And we can't have that. So it's so important to have great community leaders partner together. Now, Ben, so where you're at now, right? You said you're opening up in Georgia, you're expanding a little. Is, who's leading that venture for you, and how are you guys going through making the decision-making process of where to open? What's the, the marketing plan, the business plan?
Yeah, no need. No, it's my partner and I are doing all of that, and it's looking at the different areas in the country and what we think will work. We're up and running now for about 5 months up in Cummings, Georgia, and we were right. There's no services there. There's no really good treatment within an hour or two of where we are. So we got that right, and it's only going to get better and better as far as that goes. We might expand to the Carolinas or go to New Hampshire or New York or New Jersey, and we would just have to figure out where's the best location. So we tap into our resources and we do our due diligence, and it took us a year to even think about going up to Georgia. This was not an overnight thing.
What made you pull the trigger as you're doing your due diligence and say, all right, it's go time?
Because we got down the systems in place here in Florida at the PHP. And it's running smoothly, and we feel like we're not 100% there yet with this place, but we're close. And now we can go to another level and branch out of Florida into Georgia.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Really, really, really cool. And so for anybody listening to this, whether they want to go to law school, whether they're big in the treatment center, just treatment industry or whatever, they're just wanting to level themselves up, what are just maybe 2 or 3 key takeaways that you would give them based on your journey, or pieces of advice that they should really focus on?
So one of the things that I did way back, and it still resonates today, is I went out of my way to go talk to people that I thought I wanted to be like, and I was thinking this could be my goal. So I went to treatment centers, and I went to psychologists, and I went to social workers, and I went to different business people, and I set up interviews with them, and I met with them, and I created I wasn't asking for anything. I wasn't asking for a job. I was there I was there so they could tell me their story, so I could learn. And I would tell them that up front. I must have done hundreds of interviews that way. And I mean, I met, and what happened is everybody remembered that. And back in the day with, business cards.
Right. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you'd write, and I'd write a little note and I'd remember, and there's people to this day that I still stay in touch with.
Wow.
They remember me. I remember them.
And a lot of people could say, wow, but I'm scared of rejection. I don't want to put myself out there. I'm an introvert.
Yeah.
How did you go through and just push forward on those things and not worry about, somebody saying, yeah, no, I'm too busy. Sorry.
Just my own stubbornness and my own motivation and commitment to being in the field. Once I made that decision, I really wanted to be immersed in it, which is another thing, which is my curiosity. If you're going to do this, do it. Be curious about, it's not can I do it, it's should I do it,
Okay.
right? And so once you figure that out, that you can do it, you should do it. There's a place for you. It's you go talk to people. Yeah. So there's some people that'll be like, I don't want to talk to you.
Right.
But at the time, I represented no threat. So it wasn't like I was in private practice or I had my treatment center already where, they're like, what are you doing here? So that was really important.
Did you find that most people were very generous with their
Very.
time and their knowledge?
Very, very generous, as I would be, as I have been. The way that I look at it is I've I've spoken to competitors. I actually trained some competitors and educated them. Here's my position. My position is here you go. Here's the recipe. You're still not going to make it as good as I. I mean, that's sort of how I feel about it. It's not, and that's not being cocky or arrogant. That's with proof.
Right. Just
That
the truth.
I'm focused on certain things, and we feel like we can do it better.
Right.
And then there's something else I wanted to share with you. So I learned this along the way. I learned it at Destination Hope, and I'm doing it now. And that is the following: is like you should, if you're going to be an operator, you should work on your business, not in your business. And by working on your business, taking a 30,000-foot view, you're able to see everything. If you're working in your business, it's similar to there's a fire in the kitchen, and you're in the kitchen putting out the fire, but guess what? The entire building is on fire.
Right.
So good for you. You put the fire out in the kitchen, but the rest of the building is gone.
Yep.
And so you want to work on it. You want to see everything, and that's good leadership. You want to be curious about things and what makes people tick.
Right. I mean, I learned about that 10 years ago when I read the E-Myth Revisited, and we're still constantly going, okay, is this on versus in, on versus in? And
Yeah.
sometimes I need to get back more in, but I really want to focus on the on. And it is that, just being self-aware of where am I now? What does the business need from me now?
Yeah.
Because you really can't grow unless you're working on the business and not just in the weeds.
So I go once a year. I go down to Barry University, where I got a dual master's from, and some of the professors that are one or two that are still there, they want me to speak to the graduating class, and I tell them these things,
Right.
the things that we're talking about, and a lot of them are afraid of, well, what if I fail, and what if I don't make money, and whatever. And I say to them that you're gonna make money. If you love what you do, it's gonna
Right.
come. It's gonna happen.
I believe that too, very much so. It's the law of attraction. You get back what you put out there,
Yeah.
and it finds a way of working out. And I think fear, especially for lawyers are so conscious of fear, and they're paralyzed by it. And that's one of the things that makes our firm special is that we make a lot of mistakes, not with the work that we do, but with some of the business decisions.
Sure.
We're not afraid to
Sure.
do something and call it an alpha or a beta test and say, let's just try this.
It's gonna happen.
Yeah, because that's how you learn, that's how you grow, that's how you get better, and that's how you ultimately do move forward. And so we've learned that, and I think that's been one of the keys to our success is failing forward. and really learning from that, because
Yeah,
that
for
is
sure.
how you grow. So Ben, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for being here. Now, if anybody wants to reach out to you, what's the best way for people to get in touch with you?
So probably through my assistant.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, probably through my assistant. But I mean, if they wanted to reach out to me, if you want me to give you my cell phone number, I can
It's
do
whatever
that.
you feel comfortable.
Sure,
Or,
sure. 954-319-0373. You can reach me by email, ben.brafman@sylviabrafman.com.
Okay. All right. Perfect. So anybody listening to this, I encourage you to just reach out, connect. You are such a giver, and you've both given and received great knowledge, information, and mentorship over the years, just like I have. And I think that's what it is in our South Florida community, of just
Yeah,
being positive and paying
absolutely.
things forward. So thank you so much. And I can, me and my team can attest firsthand how amazing you and your team
Thank
are.
you.
And, we could love, we love you guys, and we know that we will continue our, partnership and working together for many years to come.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you for
of course.
having me.
Yeah, it's a pleasure.
All
Great.
right.